How's it going? You're listening to Born Optimistic. Thank you so much for stopping by and carving an hour out of your busy life. Thank you for all the people who tuned in last week to Tim Booth and the great reactions we got on Twitter at Born Optimistic and Facebook at Born Optimistic Show. Really touched and heartened by people's reactions. I got one email just this morning from somebody who said that the show made him cry. And I'm not sure if that was the reaction I was looking for, but I can see why. There was some pretty harrowing stuff there in terms of his experience growing up. And I guess it just goes to show you that nobody's life is perfect, no matter how it looks from the outside. But he was really inspiring, Tim. And I'm really glad he made the time to talk to us. This week's show is Wallis Bird, an incredibly inspirational woman from Wexford, now residing in Berlin. Amazing stories to share, and what an incredible upbringing Wallis has had. For me, one of the highlights of this interview was tracking down more information about John Bird, who I did not know is Wallis's uncle and one of the most amazing DJs it's ever been my pleasure to witness. So we're going to press play now, and thank you so much, Wallis Bird. So, as a starting point, where are you on the optimism spectrum?
I would say I'm in Bjork spectrum, probably violently happy, I would say. Absolutely everything that I draw, all my passion, energy, time, want, lust for anything is drawn from optimism. That's what I grew up with, and that's what I definitely see my life through, is optimism, for sure.
So what would be your earliest memory of even optimism as a concept?
Oh, wow.
Well, if it was around you all the time, you wouldn't really remark on it, I'd say, for a long time.
Probably my earliest memory was enjoying my dad when something wouldn't go his way or a glass would break in the pub or something, he'd go, and or if we lost something in a game or something, he'd be like, sure, wasn't it fun anyway, Those would be my early memories of not having disappointment, I suppose, or feeling like, disappointed, and then him telling him, yeah, don't be, it's grand.
Brilliant.
Stuff Brilliant. Like that, I suppose.
So always the sunny side.
Yeah, like my dad and my mum had 7 kids, and I think basically I'd say that's what kept them going, because they have fun. They're great fun, and for me, I'm very much like comedy tragedy thing. I do love both, I would say I err on the side of comedy before tragedy, I'd say, but I definitely, it's both are very, very loving in my life.
So your folks definitely instilled the sunny side up outlook in you.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Like they hadn't, I'd say at times they hadn't been to scratch, If that's not even a phrase, but...
being to scratch, yeah, it works.
Being to scratch. And like I imagine, my dad was working in the mines and my mum was at home minding us all. And, I'd say that was tough. But when like my mum was always good crack and my dad was always good crack, so yeah, I think it just, they're not down kind of people, they don't let stuff get them down. They're very respectful of people. They don't like anybody to take the piss, of course, but and people really like my parents, which I looked up to as well. I look up to that, yeah.
Like, listening over your music and tracing your career and the different sounds, and you've experimented with lots of different sounds, but one thing that I think has been really consistent as you've experimented with different sounds has been your positivity.
Oh, I'm so glad you're saying that. That's great. Yeah, like there was a point after the second record which was a little bit angry. I was leaving Island Records and I felt like they had berated and degraded me somehow because they put me on a pedestal as a thing rather than a person. And that kind of got to me, and I was young and I had an ego. So I'd say that was a very negative time in my life, and that affected me greatly. It took me about 2 or 3 years to get out of that. But once I got out of that, the only way I said was like, well, look, what do you want from life? If you want more fame, you'll never be famous enough. If you want more money, you'll never have enough money. So what's actually the most important things in life is love and happiness and health and a community, really, I think. So ever since then, I kind of shed those shackles of monetary or success rating or status and shit like that. And since then, the only way has really been up. And now that I've come to this record, I really have absolutely everything I need. And so this record is just thank you, you know. Because it could all go tits up from here. Every corner is a danger, you know.
And there is that big singer-songwriter's fear that when you're happy, your songs will become boring all of a sudden.
Yeah. I really don't. I think that had its time and place for sure. Like, you know, there was the singer-songwriter time in Dublin when I was going to college between 3 and maybe, let's say, 8. Where it was like, you know, your hair was covering over your face and you were singing about breakups and stuff, and we all kind of fell into that trap for sure. And there was this feeling that unless you were singing about very deep and sorrowful things, that you weren't really taken seriously. And I did try and do that, but in the end I was just like, look, it's just taking too much of my energy doing this stuff. And I always, when I met up with somebody like a peer, that I was a fan of or something, or a musician that I had big graw for, I loved it when they were just sound, you know, or just normal. Anyone I've ever met that had had you know, some kind of a, you know, a thing about them that people admired. I always loved it when they were just nice and simple. Yeah. So I think I kind of like tried to eke that into everything that I was doing with everyone around me as well. I think it's much harder to be positive a little sometimes, but when you practice it enough, it's very simple. Yeah.
Any tips? So for people if the days that people are finding it hard, if there's a day where you're finding it hard to be positive, how do you G yourself up?
A little bit of sweating. There's this lovely phrase that salt water is the cure of everything. Sweat, the sea, or tears. Isn't that lovely?
Oh, wow.
And I think a bit of exercise, shake your body, a bit of exercise, a bit of sweating or crying or, you know, jump in the sea or something like that is a good waker-upper. Step out of your comfort zone. And I'd say if you're blocked up and can't get something out, then write like a beast, like a hypnotised beast. Make a fool out of yourself. If you got writer's block, write through it, really, because nobody's going to write it for you. The page is not going to fill up itself. And even if what you're writing is, you feel like it's obsolete or just nonsense, then fine, you know, you're going to come through something to get to the other end, I think. Yeah.
From what age were you aware that this was your path?
I'd say I was 14 when I got a publishing deal offer with a really good friend of mine, and we were writing music just for the love of it, and we were writing really good tunes actually. We loved it, you know. It was good, simple teenage pop tunes, you know, but they were good, like. And we got recognition very early, and I says, okay, so there's something to be done here for the future, you know. I mean, I'm being offered a nominal fee or something. I was like, oh, this is a thing, so that's like a job. And that was when I realised that I really loved writing with somebody else, with my best friend, but I needed to go out on my own, and that I couldn't be sharing my lyrics. And
was that a difficult decision to make?
Yeah, it was I was very young, and it was very much a seminal moment in my life. I had to make a big decision, and I lost a friend there for a long time.
Wow.
And that was a really big learning curve for me, and one that I regret dearly, because I didn't treat him well, and I took the egotistical stance and said that I'm more important than you are, which I regret that dearly. But taught me an awful lot, and that was the time when I kind of went out on my own and took it from there, really. Yeah.
So obviously for you to get to this stage of 14 that you were offered this contract, I mean, you and music, like, when does that date from?
Me and music, me and being serious about music dates from the womb, to be honest with you. Like, I really think that I'm just a vessel, and I say that really without trying to be cliche or something like that, but I can't explain this need as much as I'm breathing to be doing what I'm doing. I question it, of course, like, and I question my why I should be or how I should be, or of course, but in the end it's just always there, you know. And even if I've got a fever, I'm very very seldom sick. But if I found that if I'm dying of a fever, I'm still able to get up on stage. It's no bother, you know what I mean? The adrenaline hits you. It's just a soul, a spirit or something, you know? It's been there, yeah.
So the pre-14-year-old Wallis, one of 7. Where do you come in the 7?
I'm number 6.
You're number 6. So just in the context of the wider family, your music is what you do all the time. What you think? Are you the only one? I'm just trying to get a picture of the context of you all of a sudden. This is what you do, and what that was like growing up in a typical Irish home. well,
yeah, I mean, I'd say most Irish homes would know plenty of people that have their party piece at the very, very least, you know. There's always somebody who can recite something or, you know, play the spoons or whatever, you know. There's just that rhythm in the bones of the Irish people, you know. And it's in the water, it's in the blood, I don't know where it is, but it's there. So my dad was mad into music, my mum is mad into music, and he collected vinyls and was a DJ for a bunch of years. He had took his show on the road, had go-go dancers, had priests break up his shows and stuff.
Oh my God, if he had go-go dancers, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think that's just brilliant. And he's telling me about the Perspex table that they used to stand on where lights were shining up and stuff. He really,
what was his act name?
It was called Sounds International. Yeah, my uncle is still a DJ, so was my dad and his brother, John Bird, John Bird, and they...
John Bird?
Yeah.
That's your uncle?
Yeah, that's my
I've
uncle.
seen him DJ. He is incredible.
Oh, very good. I'm delighted. Yeah, he's really good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's so good. That's
he
just
is
brilliant. I'm so
incredible.
glad. Yeah, I'm so glad.
I saw him and I was like,
He's
where
brilliant,
the
isn't he?
hell did this guy come from?
He's the true original.
Like,
yeah, the two of them were traveling around, and they were I guess heavy hitters, you know, because they started to move into booking bands, and they had Bay City Rollers and Marianne Faithfull, and she had them painted TV white and all of these weird things, you know. I had to take her off stage because she was too balubas, and they have all these great stories, you know. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then I found out recently that my grandfather on my mother's side was Jim Thompson. He was a political singer in Meath. He used to write songs to rile up the politicians in Meath, yeah. So I found that out recently. That was interesting.
So if your dad is touring the country with go-go dancers and Perspex tables, the idea of you, you know, with a guitar singing your heart out is positively square in comparison.
I suppose, yeah.
You're reacting against your dad.
Oh, I didn't need to or anything. I suppose I would have been in it. Yeah, that's true, you know.
You were rebelling.
Yeah, I guess I was a bit square, yeah. And I suppose I should take my dad's kind of gumption for that, Perspex and stuff, and go-go dancers. That sounds amazing to me. I'd love to hang out with that guy, you know. And here I am trying to folk people up with a guitar, you know.
You do have a groove, though.
I love the
There's
groove.
a groove to what you do.
Thanks very much, yeah.
That must have come from those international gigolos who were
yeah.
hearing the sound beating through the through the floor.
My dad was always playing soul and traditional music. When it gets going, it's got such a vibrant groove on it, you know, Sharon Shannon and Andy Irvine. You just can't miss the groove. You know, they're just metronomes and it's all feel. Yeah, Irish traditional had a lot to do with it as well, I would say. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. John Bird, I'm trying to remember where I saw him DJ. And it was completely out of context. It wasn't in a hip context I saw him. But I was just who is this guy? Where did he come from?
Yeah, he's got a great radio voice, hasn't he? Yeah, he's got the tunes, man. He's all the well, back then he was calling it golden oldies, but they're just the tunes. They're just the best ones, really, isn't it? I've so much graw for my parents. I'm so much time for them. They're very cool. You know, they did things they started drinking Dutch Gold when everybody was don't be drinking that because it's no class. And they were class is from within, all right? Oh. You know, it's not in a can.
Oh my God.
And they're just really cool people.
What made them so cool? Let's go back a generation.
Yeah.
What made them so cool?
I have no idea. They're just... I have the feeling that they're very educated people, but that's by choice, you know. They left school when they were young, and they're educated in their choices because they all of their friends and all of their relatives are all mad, you know, so you would have got up to all sorts of mischief. And then you have to be quick on your feet, and that's an education. And they're like I say, they're jokers of the pack, so you know there's a lot of, you know, tragedy and comedy there. That's an education. And they had to learn about, I'd say they're just very clever humans, like they're great fun, that's what I mean. They're not snooty, they're not above anybody, and they always take people at face value and ask for respect and give respect. And I suppose that's where they're coming from. That's a lovely education that they have, you know, I think. Life.
And back to you in the context of your siblings, you know, you're living the artist's life.
Yeah.
So that, you know, that decision, like, was it a conscious moment? Was it something you drifted into? You seem to never have entertained any other possibility.
I haven't until now, I suppose, actually. When I didn't want to get a job because I knew I'm useless at that. You know, service jobs and stuff like that is a gift that I love that I will never be able to have. Unfortunately, I think you're born with it, like, and I don't have that. And I did terribly in school as well, and just my points were very low, and I didn't have any interest in school, to be honest with you.
Why?
I don't know. I want to be out there learning it for myself rather than reading it from a book, to be honest. And the stuff that I love working with my hands. My dad built his own house and he learned that from himself. You know, my mum and dad, they did everything. Wow. Everybody have to just kind of do their own thing and learn as they make mistakes as they go. Some people are academics and I'm not, I have to say. So, you know, that's just my way, really.
You don't take somebody else's solutions off the shelf. You're not interested in that.
Well, if it's down to electronics and shit like that, I can't be going and getting myself. I'm not stupid or anything, but no, I mean like stuff like the like learning music or something. That's, you know, that's practice and a gift, and there's plenty that I can be learning. I should be, because everybody has inner gifts. You don't have to be good at one thing. You can be brilliant at and kind of okay at 1,000 things, and that's just as good. Like. I'd love to. I didn't have any other option until now because I was useless in school, and I just thought, well, you know, music is kind of not really a theory-driven thing unless I'm doing jazz, and I'm not good enough, you know. That's for jazzers.
Well, you were useless in school, as you say, not doing well in your exams, but obviously not short of intelligence. Were you aware of that? Did you feel down on yourself that you didn't do well in school? Did it bother you?
I suppose it did. Like when you're looking at it did, and it absolutely didn't. Like when I was looking at my friends and they had so much pressure not pressure, but when they got there, when they received their allocated points or whatever they received from finishing a course or college or school, that they were like, I could have done better, or I've done as well as I could. That I was like, what's the point pressuring yourself over one stupid week of exams from the rest of my life? I was like, surely that's a wrong way to test me, you know. What's that phrase? You can't test a fish how high you can climb a tree, kind of thing, you know. So I always knew that there was just ways to get in and around life. Like life is not just based around rules, and you know, we're all learning as we go along. Like there is boundaries and steps that we can take to better ourselves, but that's not the only way, you know.
So do you ever worry about the future?
I worry about my loved ones, and that would be my main worries, you know, losing loved ones, and I worry that I'm not treating the people in my life well enough. That'd be the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. And I'd like to treat my team well. I'd like to see them not struggle, and I'd like to see them enjoying what they're doing and feeling like they are getting something out of it. Those are the kind of things that keep me up at night. But for the future, I suppose I'm okay with death. Like, I'll be scared, obviously, if I'm, you know, but maybe not, you know. I'm okay with that stuff. You know, life, we're here or we're gone, or, you know, life is long. I'm not worried, to be honest. I'll always find a way, really. That's my kind of way of looking at life. I'll always find a way. Yeah.
Can do.
Yeah. Can do, will do.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, I often think of, when I think of somebody who puts themselves out there, literally, on a stage, bearing your heart, for better or worse, you literally put yourself out there. That's what you do.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say, though, there's a trick to it, because I learned a great thing from a guy called Dave Hederman. He's a painter, living in Berlin. He's a wonderful guy. He said that he gives 90% of himself, because if he gives us 100%, what has he got for himself?
Wow.
And when I heard that, then that changed everything for me. So I was like, yeah, well, that makes a whole lot of sense, because even physically, when I'm playing the guitar too hard, if I'm going for a guitar take in a studio or something, it's like play the guitar really hard and then I listen to it back, and it just sounds better if I pull back that tiny little bit, because the string can resonate. Just pulling back in reflection, I think, is good.
So do you know at any one time what's in that 10% that you're keeping back for yourself, or does it change? Or is there like a certain bit of your life that you've ring-fenced? I mean, like, or is it a malleable thing, this concept?
I'd say it's malleable, all right, yeah. I'd say that's the point of the mistakes and how you deal with the mistakes, I'd say, yeah. Like, do you know when you hit a bum note? Herbie Hancock was playing, and he he's a perfectionist, he's a wonderful player, he's maestro. He hit a dirty bum note, and Miles Davis went for exactly the same bum note to just say there is no wrong notes.
Oh,
and that's a wonderful thing, So, relax, it's all good. I know you're amazing. Don't be worrying. Don't do it again. No. But yeah, leaving space for the mistakes and the bum notes, because sometimes there can be a real glimpse of beauty come out of that, and a real good idea can come out of the mistakes.
I think in many respects, just based on the last few minutes, it's if you ever do anything wrong, I think you're going to be the first one to point it out.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I kind of laugh it off or go for it the second time around and see if it sticks, Yeah, pointing out mistakes at people is holier than thou. And then Smythe, you get struck down or something. But yeah, don't be pointing out people's mistakes. That's just a really bad trait.
When you talk about being Smythe and struck, it's like all this stuff that's just in us. And what I was going to ask you is, you're an Irish person currently not living in Ireland, which means you're in a great position to talk about what's so great about us, what you miss about Ireland, what you don't miss, because you have that perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I love Ireland. There's so much to love about Ireland. And because I'm away, I suppose it gets a bit more romanticised as well. I'm really proud of Ireland right now. And I swear to God, coming out the other end of all of the shame and all of the relentless power grip and death grip that the Catholic Church had over Ireland is quite a thing, and people to come through based on love. I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing, So Ireland's really topping it right now. It's just got a great soul and a great conscience right now, because it had to as well, There is huge belief, but I think belief has moved into humans now, and seeing it as seeing it to believe it, seeing human nature and believing that it's okay to be very different from everybody else. You want to dye your hair purple in one hair and then shave the rest of your head, or you want to do this, that, the other, I mean.
So you see that we have changed quite a lot.
Oh God, yeah.
What time frame are you talking?
I would say Ireland has kind of definitely over the last 2 years since the marriage referendum.
Wow.
I would say that Ireland has outdone itself, eclipsed itself in terms of allowing people to unburden themselves of some kind of a shame or guilt or something that they were supposed to be feeling. And now people can take their belief about the religion, and it's justified however they want to treat it. If they want to be angry, or if they want to believe in it ironically, or if they want to see where they're at, or if they just believe because what else? I think you're allowed now,
And it's that short. It's literally in the last 2 years, you think?
I would say, there's been that enormous shift since the referendum.
Because I live in a liberal bubble.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily see the shifts.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, we see what's around us, don't we? And we all have our little bubbles for sure. Even the countryside has changed. Like, I'm from the countryside. I'm from a really small village with about 500 people in it called Galbally. And I always was kind of just like myself. And I saw that as growing up, people were judging me. And I says, why are you judging me? You like me and I like you. So why are you doing that?
At what age were you aware of being judged and reacting that way?
I guess I was about 11. Yeah, it goes back to, I'm 34 now. And I guess when I was 11, you could see people treating me different because I was fundamentally into music and into weird things and kind of just a little bit thought a bit freely, and I didn't judge people as most people were expected to do in a small town, I think. And turns out that we all felt the same way. Well, now that's a beautiful little bubble now, that Galbally, the village of Galbally. I think it's something like Ballydahab or something in the west, where they were quite open-minded. But I think in general, Ireland is quite open-minded because it's had so much put in front of it that it decides its own face, I think.
Well, I think back to when I was young, and I think for me one of the greatest changes is how we're not as past remarkable.
Oh, it's fab. Oh my God, I love that.
So when I was a kid, like, every single thing that stood out was discussed. If somebody had one leg longer than the other, they were the town freak.
Yeah.
And it's like, and when I think back, and I look back at, there's blah blah, the limp or whatever they call it, and it's like,
yeah, why'd you say that?
But the leg was just 6 inches short of the other. What does that tell you about their personality?
Yeah, nothing.
And when you look back at just a litany of them, that's just one. I could name 100 examples of that. And that's for me, we don't do that anymore. We don't point at somebody and go, there's the blah blah, or there's the blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't define people through their,
through their whatever.
Yeah.
And what does it tell you about somebody's personality?
It tells you more about the person saying the thing.
And when I was a child, that was everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
And that for me, so that's it. But that's I couldn't tell you when that ended.
Could you not? No.
No, but I've just kind of been thinking about my youth compared to my children's youth, and going, all this stuff that we took as second nature that we would say about other people, it just doesn't get said now.
Yeah. God, does it feel? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you miss that?
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, it's not about missing it at all. I mean, like, to be honest.
Was it something fruitful or
no? It was a waste of energy.
Yeah, totally.
Because that energy that went to that could have been spent on something else. So the energy you spent judging on someone and the fact that one of their legs is 6 inches shorter than the other, you could put that energy into getting to know them.
Yeah.
Or that simple, basic stuff.
Yeah.
Do
you know what? There's backlash towards that as well, because a lot of people, I talk to friends and about how stuff has become too PC, and I'm like, what's become too PC? For example, naming, saying that something's gay. Oh, that's so gay. I was like, could you not use that word? And they were like, oh, come on, I've been using it my whole life. And I was like, okay, but you're saying that who I am fundamentally is terrible or disgusting or funny or weird or something.
Term.
Negative. I was like, you can surely find another word for it. And they were like, I suppose. And I was like, that's amazing. If that little thing could just change, simply just don't say the thing that, you can just, I think because more people are judging the person that's saying the derogatory thing rather now than people might not agree with you if you have something bad to say about somebody, because we've all been on the end of that. Somebody saying something terrible about you.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's just nobody needs that.
But I would say the key thing is to allow everyone the opportunity to change.
Yeah.
And just because you used to say something that wasn't right, you don't have to say it anymore, and we won't hold it against you.
Yeah.
like an amnesty of sorts. I read something last year. One of the reasons why a lot of people get pushed off environmental issues is that the people on the environmental side make them feel bad or stupid for not doing X, Y, and Z, and then it's easier for people to retreat into a defensive state and go the opposite way than it is know all these things they're supposed to know about how to be green or how to be PC. You know, that I think you have to be careful, like society has to be careful in terms of you need to just bring people along. But I see everything as a sliding scale and everything gets better all the time. That's kind of how I see progress as just that. I mean, for me, every single thing we do and enjoy is built on things that previous people had to endure on our behalf.
Yeah. You'd hope that you come out the other end of that with something positive to give somebody else as well then. A lot of people would say, what do you think then about people saying the old times were better?
I mean, look, you have one life to live and it is now, so you have to live it.
Yeah.
That's my answer to that.
Very good.
You know, I don't desire the past or the future. You know, what can you do? You have now. And which, I mean, brings us back to optimism, but also brings me to your song Home, which for my money is possibly one of the greatest love songs of all time. Like, I can see that being played at a lot of weddings.
Oh.
Like, it's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Oh, wow.
And I know you didn't write it so it'd get played at lots of weddings. That probably wasn't your aim. Maybe it was. I don't know.
That's beautiful as well. That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. I don't know what to say. That's a lovely thing to say. Thank you.
It's a great song. It's a really, really great song.
Oh man, it's funny when that catches me, man. Like, that song came out of nowhere. The first lines of the song are, all I ever wanted was to settle down and marry, laugh and love, and hopefully have a child. And I remember going, what? What's happening? And then I was like, stop thinking, just keep singing. And I wrote it all in one take, really. And it's the lyrically everything. I think for me, it's the song that I could swan song, I suppose.
Wow.
Yeah. Always wanted to write a Shamno song and never got the thing, you know. And I wrote it for my parents, really, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not even about you necessarily.
It's very much about me, but it's just kind of highlighting the love song, the love that I've been searching for this whole damn time, you know. I've had lovely practice and now it's just like, I think I've hit the jackpot, and I've always wanted that big love that my parents have, you know. They're married for 43 years and I just always wanted that, you know.
And do you think now you've nailed your colours to the mast about children? Like you've thrown your hat over the wall?
Oh, lads. Well, funnily, you know, it was like that subject came up and it was like, do you want children? And I was like, I don't have to, you know. I love children. You'll always find me hanging out with the kids at the party, like, you know. I can't live without them. But I was like, actually having kids, I don't know, geez, sure, we don't have to, I suppose. I mean, it's modern. We're modern women now, I suppose.
So what's for blowing up and what's for keeps? You know, which bits do we hang on to? Which bits do we not hang on to?
I think that individuality is certainly on a hype right now. Like, we're on a peak of people being allowed to look and feel and do and sound and be who they are. I think that's great. And usually what goes up, what comes down, isn't it? Really, like, history starts repeating itself and then people go, right, you just must look a certain way and there's a certain style now. But I think with the basis of large, like, conformity through capitalism and stuff like that, mass production of clothes or a look or, you know, vanity and magazines and all of that shite, that's kind of led us down a track of that we almost had a certain thing. But like physical attributes of like being a certain height for the guards, I can understand that, but it's good that that's also gone. Do you have a utopian idea of what you could imagine would be the sublime moment in human history that we should reflect and go, right, that's amazing.
Well,
do you have an idea of that?
For me, the big question we have to answer is, what are people going to do with their time? I think that's going to be huge, because the idea of a job as a concept is changing really, really fast. So I think that's going to be huge, and I think we could be in a situation in 30 years' time where people have a lot more free time.
Lovely.
And so it'll be very interesting to see how that evolves and how that's used. Some people would see that as negative, and there's a lot of people with free time at the moment who may not have a positive lifestyle, but there's an opportunity to see that in a positive sense. So that's a big question we need to answer.
That's interesting. Like, in Berlin, where I'm living, most people are kind of homeless, or not homeless. Well, there's a lot, but workless. Oh my God, my English. Loads of people don't have jobs, or they have 1,000 jobs. You know what I mean? They're just kind of working and earning their thing, and they're not worried about. It's so cheap to live there. Let's just say that you have free time. And that kind of opens up your senses to hanging out with friends or hanging out on your own, and it gives you time to think. And it's, for me, when that's taken away from me, that's not good, you know.
So you're living in the utopian future. Tell us what it's like.
It's amazing. It's so beautiful. No, but that will be really beneficial, I think, to people to have more time.
So how does it work in Berlin? You know, for so many people who don't live there, it's this place where people get to do what you've described. I mean, how does that work? What's the shakedown? So,
yeah,
as you said, 1,000 jobs or no jobs, and cheap to live. And
it's a well, since the fall of the Berlin Wall, it's been extremely poor, and it's full of people who are I don't want to be tarring everything with one brush, but it was poor, full of entertainment because people had nothing else, and you know, it's very dark as well as light entertainment. I mean, they're very liberal about sex, about their body, about freedom of choice, and you know, you have no place to judge me. I've come through a lot to get to where I am. So that in itself is just, you know, an extreme boiling point of art then, you know, because all the best stuff comes out of poverty, really, I think. Never came out of money. And yeah, just like the freedom of time, the luxury of time. People walk slower, animals are everywhere. Most people don't wear watches. Do you know what I mean? There's no substance in time, you know, everything's open all the time. Kids are timeless, they're always there. You walk into a nightclub and the kid's there, do you know what I mean? And just, there's this sense as well of danger, like, if you fall over and break your neck because you didn't realise that there's a cliff there, you're a fucking idiot. And that's your problem. That's not the government's problem. You can't sue us.
It's not going to the High Court.
No, stuff like that. Like, you're absolutely responsible for your life and other people's lives. It's a conscionable decision. What you do affects other people. And that's really interesting thing about Berlin. What you do is not just your own. You have to think about other people every step that you take. Like, if you rent a flat, you have more strength than the landlord, so you can live there longer, you can squat the place basically, because everybody should have a roof over their head, so that the person renting the house has more strength. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody needs a house over their head, and you have to look after. And if you're signing insurance, you're signing insurance for your neighbour, not for yourself, because if your pipe bursts and ruins your neighbour's house, that's not your neighbour's problem, so they're not going to pull it out of their pocket, so you have to pay for that. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, just thinking about
But then they would say, I can imagine now if it comes up about bringing these laws in Ireland, they'd say, well, why would anyone become a landlord if the tenants have such rights? Like, how does that, you know?
It would, something's got to change, because the houses being built in Ireland are shite, and the houses that I've lived in Ireland are like, I've lived in some paper thin crap houses for unbelievable expense, and that has to shift big time. There's people, I mean, come on, look at Apollo House, like, you know what I mean? There's houses sitting there.
And is Berlin changing?
'Tis, yeah. Everywhere is changing. Everywhere needs to cop on, I think. There's just a grand idea that, you know, I need to be richer than everybody else, we need to lose it all to come back and see what we have and count our pennies before we count our pounds. Like, I think, I think the whole world needs to cop on, because it's just moving in a flux of lack of.
And how do you get that? How do you get that into the world's mind? What do you say to them? How do you shape the world out of it?
Not paying attention to celebrities or the wealth of people, I think would be a great place to start. To start looking upon the most vulnerable and the most in need as being the most important thing in society, most important people in society, like, you know, lesser abled, old folks, children and sick people. They should be the most important, the most looked after people, and not money or status or all of this stuff that kind of eats away at the fabric of what's fundamentally important in life, which is, like I say, love, happiness, peace.
But it seems to be the shiny baubles that work with people, you know. You're competing against that. Like, I'm not even saying it's your mission, because it kind of leads me into, you know, what do you try and put into people? Like what do you want people to feel or do or think because you exist? Or do you expect that at all? Are you just playing songs that you happen to like? I mean, when you do your thing, well, what are you hoping to leave in your wake? Or are you hoping to leave anything in your wake? I mean, I don't know. You may not.
Yeah. Oh,
you don't
imagine
have to.
I wasn't. Yeah, I suppose I don't have to. Sure, I'm here and I'm gone. No, I'm absolutely pushing a positivity. That's my whole life, like you say, optimism, positivity, because I'm just like, I'm a certain person that is extremely positive. And I'm always pushing the idea that it's not about how much is in your pocket or what you're wearing or how you look or who you're with or whatever. It's just about how you are, how you treat people with love, and if you're treating people well. I think that's the main things in life. So I've always been pushing that.
But how do you stay positive when you see things around you that you don't like? That
you don't buy, you know, just stuff like supply and demand. You know, if you buy the magazine, it's going to be another one on the shelf next thing. Don't buy into it and question it, and actively question. And I would say active discrimination, positive discrimination. Like if you want to change the world and you want to make the world a bit more feminist, then actively, positively discriminate and hire a woman. That will change the balance, stuff like that. Or if you want to be a better person, then actively discriminate and choose not to do the wrong thing and choose to do the right thing. And that could be not buying a Nestle product, or that could be not voting for somebody, or that could be turning off the TV, like in the inauguration. A protest in itself is to turn off your TV and not watch Donald Trump get, you know, voted in. Just don't give him the time. Journalists don't talk about him, you know, stuff like that. I think actively not doing something is just as good as doing something, I think, as well.
I was watching this video the other day of you and Amanda Palmer on stage in Australia, and I was just kind of going, literally, I never would have put the two of them on the same stage. And I don't know what I meant by that. I don't know why, but I was like, whoa, there's two worlds colliding. And I thought it was great, the props. I was proud of you. That was it. It was pride. I saw Amanda Palmer on stage in Australia giving you props, and I was going, right on.
That was unexpected, yeah. I thought the same as you. Like, you know, I mostly know her through her activism, you know, and who she is as a person rather than her music. Not rather than, I know her as a person more than her music. And then when she got up there and then I saw her playing with my own eyes, you know, 2 foot in front of me, I was like, oh, I get it.
She's actually an artist, not an activist.
Yeah, she was that first.
Yeah.
But over time, she's just like put her entire self in. She's just searching for a life that's better for everybody really, and she just wants to connect. Like, she's such a cool buzzer. Very generous human. She doesn't have to do that at all, you know. And like, she doesn't have to be nice to me, but she just wants to buzz off people that she's into, and that worked for the both of us. We just met each other and we hit it off straight away, you know. That was came out of nowhere. Yeah.
Do you meet many people that you don't hit it off with?
Nah. I mean, the occasional person, and I'm fairly quick off the mark. I'll be like, don't have time. I have to, I've like, your first instinct is usually right, isn't it, about people? So I do love giving people time, especially people that I don't agree with or something like that. I do love that now, but in general, if it's somebody that we kind of get on, but there's some kind of facet in there that you're just fundamentally not gonna reach a certain point of, I don't know.
Do you have any unrealized dreams or ambitions?
I'd love to be, now this sounds so esoteric, but I'd love to go down the route of healing. I've always really liked massaging people. I get a great feeling from that, and it really helps me, and I've received massages and I know how much they help me, so I love doing that for people. So I think I have something in me that I like helping people out physically. I'd love to go down that route of kind of seeing the possibility. I also think I've got a little bit of a psychic trait. I mean, my family have kind of foreseen things, and right in the big picture, and also like tomorrow, something's going to happen to you, and then it happened, I think we're a little bit, it's more than self-fulfilling prophecy, it's kind of just uncanny.
And does that happen on a regular basis?
No, I've tried to avoid it because it freaks me out, actually, so right. I wouldn't mind.
So you do the opposite of channeling it. You try and...
When I tried to channel it one night, I was getting visited by all sorts for a week. I was like, I'm not ready for this at all now. I was starting to open my head up to the possibility of people trying to contact me through the ether, and then that freaked the hell out of me. And but I wouldn't mind getting into that someday and kind of taking a bit of time out to see what that's about.
Yeah. How do you think that works? Like that. Do you mention the ether?
How do you open up the ether?
When you say people see things or know things, like what do you think is going on when that happens?
I think a good start to that would just be say like, I know absolutely nothing, and then you can only go from there, really. Allowing chance to happen is not trying to put rules or not trying to control stuff, letting go of control in a daily life in small ways, and allowing people's personalities to affect your day is an interesting one. Believing that there's more than the, I think just believing in the not known, in the unknowing.
So it's more about a way of being than it is about connecting into some unseen dimension. It's like
you can do that. Like you can practice to get into it for sure. Like there are things like crystals, and there is chanting, and breathing is the most simplistic fundamental way to get into a hypnotic state, and that's like if you breathe and hypnotize yourself long enough, then you go into a physical other state. So that's a very simplistic way of doing it as a human, but like
have you done that? Have you used breathing?
Yeah, I mean, I was starting to get into exercising through stretching slowly and qigong, and that's the searching for the energy within and moving energy around you through your. Basically, you have an energy within, and you bring it out, and you move it, and you shape it, kind of in a way. And exercise I started to get really into that, and that made me feel connected with myself, and then connected with a bigger picture, I suppose. Yeah.
And is this as when you started off mentioning massage, and so is this like an awareness of a new space that's developed over time that you feel yourself thinking about more and more and more?
Yeah, for sure. Like with this record, I was kind of writing it going, I've no interest to be doing this the whole time. It's very narcissistic, and it's just cyclical, and I get so much out of it, don't get me wrong. I really love what I'm doing, and probably nobody loves it more than I do. I'm ridiculous. I'm so happy to be doing this. And so therefore I've pushed it really hard, that I went, look, come on, there has to be a different kind of cerebral way, like. And then I started wanting to be more physical. I wanted to get a normal job, working in labour. I'm really into that now, and then also I just want to kind of like be a. I'd love to practice to be a good counsellor or something like that. You know, I'd love something like that. But yeah, that would be cool actually.
We say working in labour. What do you mean?
Shifting dirt and sweating and shoveling shit and. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, that kind of thing. I love labour. I love getting my hands dirty and helping people out, and I love. I'm strong, so I'm not like.
I thought you meant midwifery or the Labour Party.
Oh, right.
Like working in labour.
That. No. Delivering babies in the Labour Party.
Delivering babies for Labour Party TDs and ministers while shoveling shit in the afternoons.
There's a whole other future now.
So would that mean to say then that, you know, that once this cycle is complete, I mean, this is the first date, Dublin's the first date of a whole other leg, like a long European tour. Does that mean once this cycle is over, you're not going to create another cycle? You're going to just see what happens?
Oh, it's in my head. I need to work for other people. I'm kind of done doing my own thing for myself now. I'd really love to do something for somebody else now, because I think I've done this now, and I realise I'm not a good session player. I'd never be able to be in somebody's band, so I need to be able to do that, you know. I can't expect the world on a stick from other players in my band if I can't do that for them, you know. So that's something that I'd really like to learn. And I would think it's a gift as well. I said it earlier, but I'd love to be able to be good in the service job, because you're never out of a job, you know, if you're able to look after somebody or even be a nurse or something like that. Like these are gifts that you get.
Do you feel you've hit the bottom of the well, or are you aware that there is a bottom now?
I did hit a bottom of a well before I started writing this last record. And my management said, look, you've hit the bottom of the well and your writing is not as good as it can be. So you need time off. And you need to think about who you are, what you're singing about. So I took 2 years off and I just started again. And I got up every morning and treated it like a job. And then I found the well was full again in no time. As soon as that time was afforded me, I went, right, I can do whatever I want for 2 years. And it's based around music. So I was like, what a fucking luxury, excuse me language. And now my well is actually brimming. I've more stuff than I know what to do. So now I'm thinking this is the good time. Now I'm going to go, right, cool. I've done everything I wanted to. I'm here in Vicar Street tonight. Always wanted to play here. Always. And for this record, I had a few goals. I wanted to get nominated for the Choice Prize and I wanted to play at Vicar Street. And here I am, talking to you. And these are the tiny little goals that I know don't mean much to people. And I don't ask for much in this life, but I was like, right, I worked damn hard on this record. Wow. And these are the only recognitions that I want.
Wow, and you've got them both.
Yeah, and but that's working towards it. And now that I have it, I'm like, grand, I'm going to do something for somebody else now because I have everything I need and I don't need for anything else now. So now I'm going to do something for somebody else, I think.
But you don't know what it is?
No, I have to be honest. No, I think it's going to come to me through searching. Yeah.
Well, I think as well it'll also come to you by letting people know that you're looking for it.
Yeah.
It'll definitely come to you.
Yeah, have to tell me management first.
Yeah, people will knock on your door though, but
yeah, that's right.
You know, there could be different things going on as well. It could be like, I'm not trying to analyse you in any way, but sometimes one can get sick of the sound of one's own voice.
Yeah.
And just kind of be like, how much can I keep saying?
Right.
Or sometimes one can just be like, oh my God, life isn't infinite. Or sometimes one can be really tired.
Yeah.
Or sometimes one can want to do something else.
God, you're right, yeah. I mean, I've been told not to throw everything I have away. And that was one good advice. It was like, don't be jumping off and taking a sabbatical and deciding that you're never going to play music again. So that was good advice, because then I said, okay, well, I've always got a grounding. I'll always have the music. But I guess, yes, I'm quite tired. I guess after doing all of this, I'm like, the achievement is done now, and so
I think it's really cool that your 2 goals were so Irish. It was like being nominated for a Choice Music Prize and play Vicar Street.
yeah, like that's so, yeah. It's, I really don't want that to sound like cheap or lame or something, because it was just, all I wanted was acclaim or something, rather somebody to say that your record is, no, that's cruel, because there's a lot of people that should have been on the reckoning.
But you just have this, you have the ability to play all around the world, but yet it was the Irish things that they were the ones you wanted. I think that's really sweet.
Intrinsically, that's me down deep.
That's sweet.
I suppose,
And I've no doubt that whatever it is you do, it'll be special and it'll help people.
Oh man, I hope so.
I've no doubt about that. And I'm really conscious of the fact that we've run over time and that you need to eat and digest that before you take the stage.
I suppose, yeah.
So thank you so much for your time.
Oh my God,
Wallis.
I have to say, I've loved every moment of this, and it's a beautiful thing that you're doing, and thank you very, very much.
Wallis Bird, incredible, really, really incredible, and I can't wait to see what Wallis does next. It'll no doubt be interesting and exciting. I've no doubt about that at all. Thank you, Wallis, so much for giving us the time and putting your dinner off to do that interview. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much to Liz, who works in Wallis's management, for setting up the interview. Thank you so much. Roddy at Art19, Kev Casey, my colleague at Sun Furnace. Thanks, Kev, for all your help. Eric Trelfel, Louise Toll, and Martina McGlynn in RTE. Zoe, my love, all my friends and family, thank you so much. Don't forget, you can get a full transcript of every show at BornOptimistic.com. Next week, Badly Drawn Boy. A chance to find out what's under that hat. He shares some really, really interesting thoughts. Such an enjoyable conversation, and I can't wait to share it with you. Thank you for listening. Bye.